Hello everyone. Now you know Maff Potts, who I've just met for the first time today. Pardon?
I got a whoop there.
A whoop?
Yeah.
Keep the whoops coming. Maff and I met for the first time this morning, but we feel as if we're old friends already. If you haven't been up to the Riverside room yet, do make sure you go, because there's a public living room up there which Maff and his colleagues in the Camaradas movement have set up. And what was the thinking behind the Camaradas movement? I'm not going to go into it all now. Maff can explain it obviously much better. But it's about being alongside people, and it's about what people really need in life is purpose and friendship. And one of the slogans of the Camaradas movement is, "We're all a bit rubbish sometimes." Have I said that right? What's the right way to say it?
I'm a bit shit sometimes.
So as he said, I'm a bit rubbish sometimes. And has anybody here felt over the last couple of years, this is a bit rubbish sometimes? And so we certainly have, and I think everybody has, and we wanted to really have an opportunity, which this is the third. We've postponed this event twice, once in April last year, once in April this year, and we were determined to go ahead this time because we felt there was despite some of the risks involved, and we've capped numbers so that we can manage the physical distancing here effectively in all of the rooms. That's up to you how you help us to manage that, but that's why so many seats are empty. We've also got a lot of people joining us online, and the reason we've wanted to go ahead and do that is because the thirst that we all have for real contact with each other is so important. Now, when the lockdown started, one of the things I did, I think many of us did, was the mutual aid movement started to kick off, and I looked around and said, well, what can I do? And what I realized was actually the work that goes into building caring neighborhoods doesn't happen at the moment when people need care. It happens all of the time and as a way of life. So I realized it wasn't just a question of helping the food bank or whatever. It was primarily a question of how can I connect with people in the way that Camaradas do, with a purpose and in friendship and no other agenda. So I found that in my local park, tiny little park, there's a group of volunteers that does gardening, that looks after the park. And I'm just going to have some water.
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
Oh, thank you, Maff. See, that's what Camaradas is all about.
Wait a minute, this is vodka.
Oh, thank God. Thank you. So I joined the Community Gardeners group, and what I found was just having a shared purpose to make the garden look beautiful, which we do, and just working alongside each other, chatting to each other, not trying to fix each other, not trying to help each other, except when that moment might arise where it was important to do. And there's some other lessons I drew from that experience too. One was that this community gardening group had arisen because in the times of austerity, back in the late 2008, 2009, the local council started to stop looking after the parks. One of the things they cut was the park maintenance. And this actually had an effect which was beneficial in some ways, because it created some space for the community to do it our own way. And all of the little parks in London Borough of Islington, where I live, they all started to get these community groups cropping up. And actually, we look after these spaces a lot better than the council ever did. But that doesn't mean to say that we wanted the council to withdraw completely. There are certain things we cannot do as a community group. For example, in our little hut, there was a leak coming out of a pipe. And it took the council 2 years to fix that leak. And it would have been better if they'd fixed it a bit quicker. Less water would have been wasted, there would have been less of a hazard. So what we really needed the council to do was not to tell us what to plant where, how to look after the garden. We know how to do that. What we needed them to do was to support us with the things we can't do for ourselves, and to do that in a timely and responsive and agile way. Now you might say, what's that got to do with caring places and building healthy communities? Well, I say it's got everything to do with it. Because that, to me, is a lot of what social care is about. It's about how can we look after ourselves better, how can we look after each other better, and what today's event is all about is, and what do we need from public services, from professionals, and from institutions that can help us to do those things more effectively. It's not a question for us in Biotsog of either you look after yourself or professionals or the state looks after you. It's how can these relationships work together. It's not a question of is the power in the community or is the power with the institutions. It's about how can community and institutions work together effectively to create equitable, fair and beneficial outcomes. And it's not even about whether, what did Sajid David say the other week? It's first family, then community, then state. No, family, community and state of course have a role, but the question is how can they work together most effectively to support people, to enable us all to live the lives we want to live together and create caring neighbourhoods ourselves, because let's face it, when we look at the future of health and social care in this country, we're all going to have to work out how we do that together and what kind of support we need from professionals and services and institutions to be able to do that more effectively. And it was that approach 5 years ago when I was 10 years ago, when I came to the end of the time of looking after my mum before she died, that drew me to Biotsog. Because what I saw in Biotsog, and I'm not going to talk much about Biotsog today, but what drew me was that this was helping people to live their lives with meaning and autonomy, but also with warm social interaction, and providing high quality professional support to enable people to do what they can for themselves, to do what they can with some help from others, and to fill in the gaps where only the professionals can do it. And also for the professionals to assist in that development of those kinds of relationships where needed and not where not needed. Now, what is needed and not needed? Well, there's a whole service, and there's some service designers in the room, I'm sure, and I don't want to diss the profession, but there is, and again, Maff, yeah. And there's a whole industry, isn't there? But for me, what different people need and what different communities need varies. There are people in this room who cannot be here if it weren't for their personal assistant being here with them. There are others who don't need that. So it's a question of what people need and getting it when they need it, and making sure that the resources are available for that and not wasting those resources on what we do not need. And there's a lot of public resources go into that wastage as well. So that's what we wanted to explore today in this gathering. There's loads of sessions throughout the day, which I hope you'll enjoy. We see ourselves in Biotsog as being very much part of and contributing the best we can. We're very small in this country, but contributing the best we can to the growth of this movement at the same time as developing what we think is what we do well, what's been modelled and developed by my friend and colleague Jos de Blok and his colleagues here with us in the Netherlands. And they're supporting us to bring the same here. But we're also see that there are many other wonderful things happening in this community to change health and social care. And we want to both do what we do and contribute to this growing movement. In fact, the way we see it is that what we're part of is a network of change that nobody needs to control, that nobody needs to organize, but where we can all get alongside each other to support each other with common values. And that's the spirit in which we've organized today.